She was just another civilian shooter trying to compete with the pros. Her rifle looked ancient compared to their high-tech equipment. But when the smoke cleared and targets were scored, everyone wanted to know about the small skull etched into her weapon. Welcome to Motivation Unknown People. Before we begin this powerful story of precision, respect earned through skill, and the moment when true expertise silenced all doubt, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button and help us honor those who serve with deadly precision. Fort Bragg's annual precision shooting competition drew military marksmen from across the country. The morning North Carolina sun cast long shadows across the 1,000-yard range as competitors unpacked their equipment. Gleaming custom rifles worth more than most people's cars were carefully arranged on shooting benches alongside high-end optics and precision ammunition. Rebecca Hayes arrived in a dusty pickup truck, carrying her gear in a worn canvas case. At 28, she moved with quiet efficiency, setting up at Station 47 without drawing attention to herself. Her jeans and simple flannel shirt stood in stark contrast to the tactical gear and military uniforms around her. Colonel Marcus Thompson, range officer and three-time military shooting champion, walked the line inspecting equipment and greeting competitors. His crisp dress uniform displayed expert marksman badges and combat ribbons from Iraq and Afghanistan. "Morning, gentlemen," he called out as he approached the advanced shooters section. "Ready to show these civilians how real shooting is done?" Laughter rippled through the ranks of military competitors. This was their domain, their expertise, and they welcomed the opportunity to demonstrate superior training and equipment. That's when Colonel Thompson noticed Rebecca assembling her rifle. The M24 sniper weapon. System looked like it had seen better days. The synthetic stock bore scratches and wear marks from field use. The barrel showed the kind of honest wear that came from thousands of rounds downrange. Most notably, it lacked the expensive modifications and custom accessories that adorned every other rifle on the line. "Excuse me, miss." Colonel Thompson approached her station. "I think there might be some confusion. This is the Expert Precision Division. The recreational shooters are competing on Range 2. Rebecca looked up from her rifle setup, meeting his eyes with calm professionalism. "No confusion, sir. I'm registered for this division." Colonel Thompson frowned, glancing at her equipment. "That's an old M24. Hasn't been updated with current modifications." "Are you sure you want to compete against precision equipment worth $30,000 with a rifle that looks like it came from a surplus store?" "It shoots straight," Rebecca replied simply, continuing her methodical preparation. Word spread quickly among the military competitors about the woman with the bargain rifle. During the safety briefing, Colonel Thompson couldn't resist making an example. "Now, I want everyone to understand that precision shooting is about more than just showing up with a rifle," he announced to the assembled shooters. "This competition requires military-grade equipment, professional training, and combat experience." His eyes found Rebecca in the crowd. "Some folks think they can compete at our level with outdated equipment and weekend warrior training. That's not how this works." Sergeant Major Williams, a grizzled veteran with multiple deployment ribbons, leaned over to his teammate. $20 says the girl with the museum piece doesn't make it past the first stage." "You're on," replied Captain Rodriguez. "Though I almost feel bad taking your money." Rebecca heard the comments but showed no reaction. She'd heard worse in Afghanistan, where her gender and appearance had initially earned skepticism from combat units who later relied on her skills to survive. The competition began with a 600-yard precision stage. Military shooters stepped to the line with their high-tech rifles, computer-calculated ballistics, and range-finding equipment. Each shot was accompanied by commentary about equipment specifications, custom modifications, and procurement costs. Rebecca's turn came near the end of the first relay. She approached the shooting position with her weathered M24, settling into a prone position with practiced ease. No laser rangefinder, no ballistic computer, just old-school fundamentals and muscle memory. Her first shot broke cleanly. Through the spotting scope, the range officers called out the impact. Center ring. Perfect score. Colonel Thompson watched through binoculars, frowning slightly. "Lucky shot," he muttered. Rebecca's second shot struck within millimeters of the first. Then her third. By her fifth and final shot, a perfect group that could be covered by a quarter, the range had grown noticeably quieter. "Decent shooting," Colonel Thompson announced, though his tone suggested surprise. "Let's see how that antique performs at real distance." The 800-yard stage separated recreational shooters from serious marksmen. Wind conditions had picked up, creating challenges that exposed equipment limitations and shooter skill. Military competitors struggled with wind calls, several missing the target entirely. Rebecca's turn arrived as afternoon wind gusts reached 15 pt/tweet. She studied the grass movement, downrange, observed mirage patterns, and made mental calculations based on years of reading environmental conditions in combat zones where mistakes cost lives. Her shooting position was textbook perfect. Rifle natural point of aim, breathing controlled, trigger finger placement precise. Through the spotting scope, officials watched her first shot impact dead center despite the challenging wind. Sergeant Major Williams stopped talking. Captain Rodriguez lowered his expensive rangefinder. Even Colonel Thompson moved closer to the spotting scope to verify the impact. Rebecca's remaining shots grouped tightly in the center ring, demonstrating wind-reading skills that surpassed most military shooters present. "How is she doing that?" whispered a young lieutenant. "That rifle doesn't have wind sensors or ballistic computers." "Maybe it's not about the rifle," Sergeant Major Williams replied quietly, beginning to recognize something familiar in Rebecca's shooting fundamentals. Colonel Thompson approached Rebecca's shooting position as she prepared for the final 1,000-yard stage. "Miss Hayes, I have to ask, where did you learn to shoot like that?" "Practice," Rebecca answered, not looking up from her equipment check. "What kind of practice?" "That's not civilian-level marksmanship." Rebecca paused in her preparation, meeting the colonel's eyes directly. "The kind that kept soldiers alive, sir." The implication hung in the air. Around them, other competitors had stopped their own preparation to listen. The 1,000-yard stage represented the competition's ultimate challenge. At this distance, minor equipment flaws, environmental miscalculations, or fundamental shooting errors resulted in complete misses. Only the most skilled marksmen could consistently hit targets at this range. Military shooters approached the line with considerable ceremony. Equipment worth more than cars, years of formal training, and combat experience were brought to bear against targets barely visible to the naked eye. Colonel Thompson took his position first, firing a respectable group that earned applause from his peers. Other military shooters followed with varying degrees of success, most managing to hit the target but few achieving precision that would satisfy sniper school instructors. Rebecca's turn came last. As she approached the 1,000-yard line, Sergeant Major Williams raised his binoculars and focused not on the target downrange, but on Rebecca's rifle. "Holy shit," he breathed, loud enough for nearby shooters to hear. "What?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Look at her rifle stock." "Use the binoculars." Captain Rodriguez adjusted his optics and focused on Rebecca's M24. What he saw made him lower the binoculars and stare at Rebecca with new understanding. Carved into the rifle stock, barely visible unless viewed from the correct angle, was a small skull symbol. Below it, tiny hash marks. "Lots of them. Is that what I think it is?" Rodriguez whispered. "Combat sniper marking," Sergeant Major Williams confirmed. "That's a kill count." Word spread quickly among the nearby shooters. The cheap rifle carried markings that indicated extensive combat use. More importantly, the skull symbol was specific to designated marksmen who had achieved exceptional success in combat operations. Rebecca settled into her final shooting position, unaware of the discovery happening around her. She focused on the 1,000-yard target, making wind calculations based on vegetation movement and mirage patterns that most shooters couldn't even see. Her first shot impacted center ring. The second shot struck within an inch of the first. By her third shot, the entire range had fallen silent except for the wind and the occasional metallic click of rifle actions. Colonel Thompson watched through the master, spotting scope as Rebecca's final 2 shots completed a group that would have satisfied instructor standards at sniper school. 5 shots, fired under challenging conditions with an outdated rifle, had produced precision that none of the high-tech equipment had matched. As Rebecca completed her string of fire and began clearing her rifle, Sergeant Major Williams approached her position. "Ma'am, I noticed the markings on your stock," he said respectfully. "Combat sniper?" Rebecca looked up from her equipment, studying the grizzled NCO's face. She recognized the look of someone who understood what those markings meant. "Afghanistan, 2019 to 2021, she replied quietly. 10th Mountain Division, Sergeant Major Williams straightened slightly. "I served with 10th Mountain in Afghanistan. Heard stories about a female sniper who kept Route Charlie open single-handedly for 3 months. Route Charlie was a team effort," Rebecca corrected. "Team effort led by a sniper who recorded 47 confirmed kills and saved hundreds of American lives," Williams pressed. "Call sign Deadeye." The range had grown completely quiet now. Every competitor, every official, every observer was listening to this exchange. Colonel Thompson approached slowly, his earlier arrogance replaced by something resembling shame. "Rebecca Hayes, Staff Sergeant Rebecca Hayes, 10th Mountain Division Sniper." Rebecca nodded once. "I owe you an apology," Colonel Thompson continued, "and an explanation to everyone here about what we just witnessed." He turned to address the assembled competitors. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've just watched one of the most skilled combat marksmen of the Afghanistan conflict demonstrate why equipment specifications matter less than fundamental skills and combat experience." Rebecca began packing her equipment, uncomfortable with the attention. "Staff Sergeant Hayes," Colonel Thompson continued, "your service record indicates 3 deployments, 47 confirmed kills, and a Bronze Star with V device for actions that kept supply routes open during some of the heaviest fighting in Kandahar province. The past is the past." "Sir," Rebecca replied, shouldering her rifle case. "No, it's not," Sergeant Major Williams interrupted. "What you did over there, the lives you saved, the supply convoys that made it through because you were watching over them, that's not past. That's legacy." Captain Rodriguez approached, carrying the competition results. "Ma'am, I have the final scores. Rebecca had won the competition by a margin that would stand as a record for years. More importantly, she had done so with equipment and skills that proved expensive gear could not replace fundamental training and combat experience. As competitors and officials lined up to congratulate her, Rebecca remained modest about her achievement. To her, accurate shooting was simply a skill maintained through practice, not a source of personal pride. But for everyone who witnessed her performance that day, the lesson was clear. True expertise speaks quietly until called upon to perform. And when it does, no amount of expensive equipment can substitute for combat-proven skill and the kind of precision that saves lives. The old M24 rifle, with its worn stock and combat markings, had reminded an entire military shooting community that the most dangerous weapons were not those with the highest price tags, but those carried by operators who had learned their trade in places where second chances didn't exist. Rebecca drove away from Fort Bragg the same way she had arrived, quietly, without fanfare, carrying equipment that looked unremarkable, but had proven its worth in the crucible of combat. Behind her, she left a range full of military professionals who would never again assume that the person with the simplest equipment was the least dangerous opponent they would face. Welcome to Motivation Unknown People. These are the stories of excellence that speaks through action, of skills that can't be bought or faked, and of warriors who carry their history quietly until called upon to demonstrate why they earned it. Have you ever been underestimated because of your appearance or equipment? Share your story in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. If stories like this remind you that true skill transcends expensive gear, subscribe to Motivation Unknown People for more stories of quiet expertise and earned respect. Until next time, remember, the most dangerous opponents are often the ones who look least dangerous. And the most valuable equipment is the experience that can't be purchased.